Hi, I just wanted to share a few notes on Wi-Fi and latency, as we've been hearing a lot of discussions around 5G and latency, and there's been a lot of, you can say, debate about how important latency is. My name is Shrikant, and I'm with NanoCell Networks. So I just wanted to kind of take us through a brief view of what all might affect latency in Wi-Fi. Um, Again, we are operating in an unlicensed channel, and so we need to keep that aspect in mind. So typically there are multiple places where we could find that the packet doesn't get through. For example, a very busy channel, hardware, software which does not kind of respond quickly to packets coming in, that could cause some delays. And some of this is kind of channel dependent, some of them could be processing dependent. But assuming that the packet gets off the hardware and assuming the channel was sort of okay to be used, we do have some random backup, but they don't stretch more than several tens of microseconds. Okay, there can be collisions in busy channel conditions. This can cause problem because this back off window does expand exponentially. Okay, but assuming that you get over, as I said, the busyness of the channel is a key point, and I would definitely not advise anybody to use 2.4 gigahertz because you're likely to see more of this there, right? Because you have non-Wi-Fi as well. And once you get your data through, and it can be very fast because we are running at gigabit Wi-Fi these days. Okay, so this can be very fast. Okay, and you have a very quick turnaround at the link layer to get an acknowledgement back. Okay, so it's a quick burst which goes through the air. The only, as I said, the real challenges are, as I said, one is there is some processing delay, which we'll talk about. Then there is some channel related things which are not under our control. Again, this could be because of non-Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi traffic. But assuming that you can get off the ground, then there are really no scheduling delays. There's no need to wait for a turnaround time where the uplink slot or whatever becomes available. You can turn around, as I said, literally about 16 microseconds or so. Looking at it a little deeper, as I mentioned, there is some processing delay. Typically, a lot of access point vendors and client vendors work very hard on getting their hardware and software adept at making this very fast. So unless you have a very lousy Wi-Fi unit, I don't think this should be the bottleneck. Okay. As I said, in a crowded channel, you might have to wait sometimes because being in an unlicensed band, you do need to do some kind of carrier sensing, back off, and then get to transfer. Okay. There again, we have a new tool in Wi-Fi 6 where not everybody has to kind of wait it out in the same way. We can pack transmissions once the channel gets free. So I think things can get better on the latency front in certain scenarios. Collisions can cause bad problems because you'll have to wait much longer, etc. So definitely wherever the environment is very congested, I don't think we can guarantee on the latency side very strictly. But if you get through, remember that it can be blindingly fast because it's only tens of microseconds. The average sort of waiting time on the channel is, as I said, some tens of microseconds, and the acknowledgement times is also just going to be 16 micro. Okay, so we are looking at some orders of a few hundreds of microseconds. Again, remember that we can transmit, the actual transmission time can be quite blindingly fast because of the gigabit per second rate, which is realizable today. And because we are going to kind of hopefully use wider and wider bandwidths, this number is going to grow even for the common handset. Okay, so if I summarize what all I think is very important for us to get the latency in Wi-Fi right, especially again I'm looking at it only for an indoor environment. Okay, maybe not for critical applications, maybe it's still for applications where gaming and maybe other things where we might need that latency without having to pay a lot, let's say for some very advanced cellular based technology. Nice clean wide bandwidth channel. Where can we get this? Well, it's not too far, because if we really look at some of the 6 gigahertz moves which are being made, especially in countries like US, this is not an unreal assumption. We are having lots of spectrum, and my belief is that especially in a home environment, where signals are likely to stay very nicely within that home, I think we've got a good chance that we'll get this wish. Okay, 5 gigahertz is not far off. Okay, for example, where I live in India, we have a lot of concrete. 5 gigahertz does not get a lot of corruption from my neighbors, etc. So I'm not ruling out good 5 gigahertz in many places. Access points, I think, have to get good at handling those packets, making sure that they schedule with use of the OFDMA, MU-MIMO, etc., so that we can get some nice identify maybe the low latency traffic and try and utilize these features more effectively than what we are doing right now. Okay, and the clients, especially the good ones, I think they already do a good job of that, but all they need to do is to make sure that they continue that job, maybe tow APs line, good APs line for a lot of scheduled Wi-Fi and so on. And of course, as they are doing today, they're responding to act fast. And so you already have, without all the bells and whistles, we have a latency system which can get us, if it's tuned properly and used properly, some hundreds of microseconds over the air. Okay, so that's my thought process, just to get us started on the debate of latency. So I hope that will trigger a lot more interest in this. Thanks for listening.